Story 1. Work 80 hours a week just to prove I am successful. No, I value my free time too much. Story 2. Living a life only to look successful instead of actually being happy. Society worships status, but I would rather have peace of mind than a fancy title. Story 3. Order from Temu, Shine, or any other affordable Chinese webshop. Story 4. I refuse to pretend that everything is fine when it is not. Society loves the phrase, be positive, but sometimes an honest, I am having a hard time right now, is much more helpful than another mask of optimism. Story 5. Tolerating disrespect to be a team player is unacceptable. Respect is a baseline. Story 6. Sacrificing peace of mind to meet unrealistic expectations. Story 7. Get false nails or false eyelashes. I would just want to rip them straight off. Story 8. Work hard. I am here to enjoy life, and while I do not hate my job, I guarantee you I would never show up again if I did not need the money. Working hard is just a ticket to an early grave. Story 9. My culture emphasizes the concept of saving face, which prioritizes maintaining a positive image above all else. People often violate their morality to preserve that image. It can range from telling white lies to betraying loved ones and oneself, as well as other acts of cruelty. This environment fosters toxic competition and traits like narcissism, envy, and gross insensitivity. It creates unhealthy dynamics within families, each seen as an entity that must protect its overall image. Therefore, members work together to cover up familial issues. This can involve assigning roles such as the golden child or the black sheep based on perceived success and trauma from power imbalances. It also encourages people to commit harmful acts such as theft, domestic abuse, bullying, and violence, all to maintain this facade. It is ruthless and dehumanizing, rejecting the legitimacy of mental health and stripping the powerless of basic respect. While there may be traumatic reasons for this, I strongly reject all of it. Story 10. Color or cut my hair as I get older. I am going full on witch. Story 11. Have children. I cannot now because of surgery, but I knew that my narcissistic mother would have made their theoretical lives miserable and tried to destroy them by any means possible or necessary. I was proven right, as she has done this to my eldest niece. Story 12. Drink alcohol, nearly 2 years sober, or overwork myself just to appear successful. I refuse to do overtime at work because I value my free time and my hobbies too much. Do I like my job? Yes, of course I do, but I also prefer to work to live, not live to work. Story 13. Care about the things society tries to instill in me that I must care about. Wealth, fancy cars, and constantly striving for more while working my life away for people who do not care about me. I am a firm believer of he who knows he has enough is rich. Story 14. I overleverage myself with luxuries that put me in serious debt. To be clear, I can buy anything I want and have enough money at the age of 40 that if I lose my job, it will not faze me or make me worry. The only debt I have is a mortgage. Then I see people with fairly expensive luxury cars they can barely afford while renting poor quality apartments, all to look successful to people who do not care. Story 15. Dress your age. I'm not going to stop wearing colorful and bold patterns, funky glasses, my nose ring, Vans, Converse, combat boots, leggings, and graphic tees because of my age. Growing old does not mean beige. Story 16. I do not care if it takes longer to type. I will not post anything with typos or incorrect punctuation. Story 17. Be patriotic. I have lived and traveled in many countries in my life and do not believe that one is significantly better than all others. Every country has good and bad sides. You did not choose the country you were born in. It was completely out of your control. Being proud of this is unreasonable. Story 18. Have a wedding ceremony. I am from South Asia. It is a huge event here. Story 19. In the past, when it was relevant to my life, it was unpaid internships. You should be grateful for exposure. Exposure does not pay the rent. Story 20. Smile in group photos as if auditioning for toothpaste advertisements. Story 21. I would avoid jumping into cryptocurrency trading hype despite societal pressure. It is too volatile and risky without deep expertise. I prefer to invest time in stable, long-term skills. Story 22. Smile on command. I am not here to make strangers comfortable at the expense of my own mood. Story 23. Buying from fast fashion brands like Shine or Fashion Nova. Edited to add. Change the way I express, dress, and engage with the world, if not on my own terms. Many people try to dictate who I am and how I should be able to express myself, saying I am too much, but I do not take any of it. Story 24. That may be silly, but I pierced my ears as a girl. I am 18, and many adults still ask me why I do not have it. Story 25. Care about high school. People ask me if I check in with my classmates or if I saw the reunion coming up, and I wonder why I would care. I was forced to go to math classes I hated and was bullied. Those were not the best years of my life. Many people I know still talk about high school, and I think, who cares? You are an adult now. Story 26. Following or even being aware of fashion or hairstyle trends is not important to me. I wear what I like and what I consider my style. I never really understood the idea of, that's not in style anymore. I have not stopped wearing bootcut or bell-bottom style jeans since high school in the early to mid-1990s. When skinny jeans became popular, I did not like how they looked. I need my jeans to flare out at the bottom and touch the ground. I do not care if that is not in style. My style does not include skinny jeans. My hair is parted in the middle because I am very low maintenance and like to run my hand through it. That does not work if you have to keep a side part, bangs, or a specific style. Why would I change it just because everyone else is? I do not understand the desire to be like everyone else. Story 27. Have children. I have never wanted them, especially not in this economy. I honestly think it is selfish and wrong to bring children into this world right now unless you are wealthy or financially secure and can save a significant amount of money for them. Story 28. In my culture, if you care about women, considering them compatible and ambitious is considered taboo. I am always against this, and what disgusts me the most is that they say I am less of a man because I consider women equal and not just childbearing machines. Story 29. Eat breakfast or lunch. I am not hungry until around 4 to 5 p.m. usually. Growing up, I was forced to eat breakfast and lunch at school, and it would always ruin my day, causing brain fog and making me feel generally horrible. When I eat later, I have more energy, a better mood, a sharp mind, and sleep much better after a satisfying meal at the end of the day. Story 30. As a woman, I refuse to shave any parts of my body, no matter how many terrified looks I get or vicious misogynist comments I hear. If you want shaved legs, shave your own. Why should men do literally everything they expect women to do? Why is it a woman's job to modify her body to make men happy? Hey men, get over it, be quiet, and learn to look past the skin. If not, it is past time for you boys to pretty up for us. I am happily married to a man who has enough sense to love me for who I am, not my skin. Story 31. Drink or use drugs. I do not like how normalized it is to the point where I get made fun of for not indulging. Sorry for thinking about health, I guess. Edit. For the smart ones, by health I mean mental health. I already have poor mental health and a hard time doing things as it is. Drugs, alcohol, or cannabis will make it substantially more difficult to be an adult. I am good and will pass on it. I like having a clear mind. Story 32. Give up my morals, ethics, or fight for justice for those who deserve it. If you do not like it, goodbye Felicia. With that being said, I do not identify as a social justice warrior. I am just an old school do the right thing kind of person. Story 33. Marry and procreate. If I am a bastard, I cannot imagine how much worse my descendants would be. I would gladly end my family line with myself. Story 34. Have children at 58 and be child-free. Mission accomplished. Story 35. The grind mindset. Life is too short to work all the time. I would rather have less materially and spend my time enjoying life. Story 36. Stop wearing a face mask. I do not want to get coronavirus disease 2019 ever again, and I do not care that everyone thinks I am a big weirdo. Story 37. Nobody will ever make me flatter the current aspiring president. Never. Story 38. I have children. I cannot wait until I can finally get a vasectomy and breathe easier knowing I will never conceive anyone. Becoming an uncle is also rewarding because I get to enjoy the cuteness of kids without the stress of raising them. Story 39. Have children. Get married. Work more than 40 hours a week. Story 40. Have children. Work 2 jobs or more hours than I currently do. Give up my side part. Story 41. I am not eating that. Society cannot make me do it. I do not care how many people do it. We live in a society where people are interacting closely without proper hygiene, with hardly any of them ever using a bidet in their life. Madness. Story 42. As a female, shaving. Why is it oddly offensive to others that I have hairy underarms or baby blonde hair on my legs? It is not as frequent as it was before graduating high school, but I have still had this interaction more times than I would have cared to outside of a school or immature setting. It's natural hair. Men have it everywhere, and it is a sign of masculinity or sex appeal. Yet when women have it, we are expected to have it in certain places but not acceptable in others. That is unfair. At least my partner likes that I am hairy, and that is the only opinion that matters to me. I do not care if someone wants to be hairless. That is a personal choice. But why am I considered gross for not wanting to be? As long as it is hygienic, I genuinely do not understand why there is an issue. By the way, shaved does not mean groomed. Trimming does exist. However, we have hair in certain places and not others for a reason. Story 43. Work hard when the mind says I will not be able to get anything I desire no matter how many hours of my life I spend working. Story 44. Join Facebook. I do not care if they include local businesses and the marketplace. I do not like it. Story 45. Respect people who argue in bad faith. No, both sides are not the same. No, your opinion does not trump fact. And no, your faith and feelings mean nothing to me. Respect is earned. Beyond being superficially polite to strangers in public, I refuse to give bad faith actors the benefit of the doubt just because I am supposed to. They do not give it to anyone they do not agree with. You playing their game while they do not play yours is how they continue to get away with this behavior. I am under no obligation to pretend you are being reasonable when you are not. It is your burden to prove your wild claims, not mine. Story 46. I may be old enough in my late 50s to have successfully avoided ever going to a Major League Baseball game. Story 47. Get up early. I am not a morning person. No one in my extended family is either. So what if I am doing housework later in the day? Story 48. Answer my phone and text messages in a timely manner. The phone is there for my convenience. Do not expect me to check it every hour to see if someone needs something from me. If it is that important, call. If I think it is important, I might answer. Story 49. Listen to the government regardless of political ideology. Story 50. I did not have sex before marriage, even though I did not get married until after age 30 and had many opportunities before then. I also did not live with my husband before we were married. I do not judge others who do, but I chose differently, and it has worked out quite well for us. Story 51. Social media. Besides Reddit and a Facebook page I have not posted on in 10 years, I have no social media presence. Story 52. Use artificial intelligence, use TikTok, Snapchat, and similar platforms. Have children. Story 53. Get married and have children. To be fair, society has pretty much stopped telling me to do that now that I am older, which is a nice place to be in. Story 54. Instagram beauty standards include makeup, cosmetic procedures, fast fashion hauls, and hoarding of unnecessary items. Story 55. Sleep with tape all over my face and swimming plugs in my nose. Getting old is not as scary as what is happening to those people. Story 56. Buy a smartwatch. I already have a phone and a laptop. I do not need another piece of technology disrupting my life. I currently wear a cheap Casio watch that tells me the time and date. Story 57. Flatter others. Quite literally, the only way to advance in this society is to flatter others. and I simply cannot imagine doing so. Story 58. Get married, have children. Just know, it is nice to have aged out of all the people pushing and asking. 30 years of that was quite enough. Story 59. Hustle. It is perfectly fine to be content with just having your needs met. Story 60. Buy a home right now. It is a mess of a market, and many people have tried pressuring my husband and me to buy, but buying right now would be a financial mistake. People do not care and just want you to live the nightmare they are living. Story 61. Drive. I have made it to over half a century and have never driven a car, owned a car, or taken a driving test. It is just not my preference, and I will not be persuaded otherwise. Story 62. Get pregnant and give birth. My uterus, my decision. Also, no child deserves my poor genetics. Story 63. Sports betting applications. I was surprised at how many people I knew would place bets on applications like FanDuel. During March Madness, I think about 80% of people had some kind of wager on who would win or by what margin. I have made bets with friends while watching games or placed bets on horse races at the track, but casual bets on an application for any sporting event seem unwise. Story 64. Shave, have children, wear makeup or artificial nails, stop keeping pet rats. Story 65. Buy a Labubu, Sony Angel, and similar products. They are all just garbage that will end up in a landfill. Story 66. Shave my legs and armpits. I am not a child. I have hair. Story 67. Play video games or phone games. I find it difficult to learn on my own, and I have no one to guide me. I can play the beginner-level bubble shooter game. It would probably be good for me to be able to do these things, but I am not very interested, to be honest. Story 68. Staying introverted. What is the problem with society for me being introverted? All those forces to be an extrovert really fed up. Story 69. Put ketchup on fries or anything else. If your food does not taste good, make it better. Do not cover it with unpleasant additions just to give it some flavor. Story 70. I refuse to use Amazon. I understand that my small contribution is insignificant to Jeff Bezos, but I will never support him. Story 71. Get some children like buying bread at the bakery next door. Story 72. If I feel like expressing my autism, I will. I cannot pretend to be neurotypical all day. I do not like being told to be yourself. Not like that. Story 73. Fit in. I have a question authority tattoo on my butt. Story 74. In our country, drinking alcohol such as beer and wine is seen as completely normal. If you don't drink, people think you are strange and not really one of us. Personally, I can accept that, but I just don't want to add poison to my body. Another thing is coffee. It is another stimulant that I don't need in my life. I even know people who drink 3 cups of coffee a day just to function. That is terrible. Story 75. Stop playing with toys, flattering others to get ahead, begging. Story 76. Pubic hair laser removal. You mean I have to spread eagle for a stranger to use a laser so I can look acceptably prepubescent at the beach? No thanks. Story 77. Get a credit card. I refuse to spend money I do not have. Story 78. Go to a gym. Don't get me wrong, I think you should work out, but you don't need to join a gym to be healthy. Story 79. Care about someone's preferred pronouns. I am going to use what my instincts tell me. If you present yourself in a way that convinces me, good for you. You have earned it. If you tell me your preferred pronouns without me asking, which I probably never will, I will likely ignore you. Story 80. Believe that drugs like 3,4-methylenedioxymethamphetamine or psilocybin mushrooms are worse than alcohol or nicotine. Story 81. Conform. I will not live this existence you force on us and expect us to accept as normal. Work, eat, sleep, and repeat. I am paying taxes into a system that does everything I do not want. No improvement in anything public but plenty in other areas. I will not live like a sheep in an invisible prison I helped build. I will do what makes me happy. I will value the things you cannot buy, time and love being the most valuable. I will not conform to this norm. I can still contribute to my community without being led or told how. No wonder mental health is the problem it is. We are not meant to live like this. It is that simple. Living like this causes serious problems, especially mentally. Story 82. Buy a house in a city with a large loan. Get married before 25, 30, 40, or 45 years of age. Have children, but I cannot afford to provide a good life or keep them safe. Story 83. Never use a paper toilet seat cover to justify sitting in a public bathroom where one should never sit. Squat, do not urinate while sitting, and never have a bowel movement in public. Story 84. Remarry. I am a widow and have no interest in ever being married again. I have been with my current partner longer than my marriage lasted. We do not need to get married to prove our love. However, many widows are always looking for their second chapter. Story 85. Play with people's feelings. I had a chance to have sex with a very sweet girl, but I would have had to start dating her, which for personal reasons I was not interested in. When I told my friends about it, one of them said I should have just lied to her and stopped responding afterward. What the heck? Story 86. I do not have any social media and have not had any for over 10 years. I do not read any news. I do not think I want children, nor do I think I want to get married. I am 34 years old and have been with my boyfriend for 10 years. It is incredibly peaceful and I would not change a thing. Story 87. Take my husband's last name. With things in the United States going the way they are, it was the right decision. Story 88. I sort and clean my recycling so the council can collect it and sell it to Malaysia for a profit. I am not doing unpaid work. Story 89. As a woman, wear makeup. I hate the stuff. It feels revolting. I last wore any on my wedding day 11 years ago. Only white so the photos came out properly. Story 90. Blame the homeless for their own circumstances. Capitalism requires a reserve population of unemployed individuals to function. Homelessness is necessary in our system as a threat to others. Story 91. Get married. It seems a waste of time and money to me. My partner knows I love him. I don't need a party or a paper to prove it. Never will I ever. Story 92. Have children. I like children. They are fun. I love being an aunt, godmother, or any similar role. I would be a terrible mother. I do not like having my picture taken at all. I just hate it. Story 93. Luckily, my husband agreed and we are out of state from the family with children, but there is still some societal pressure. Story 94. Use Spotify or any music streaming service, especially Spotify. Related, listen to playlists instead of albums. Story 95. Use dating applications or pursue women solely based on appearance. Story 96. Make my bed. I like leaving the blankets open to air out. If you think that makes my room messy, you are welcome to leave my house. Story 97. I will never pretend Pluto is not one of the 9 planets in our solar system. Story 98. Marriage. I refuse to get married. I cannot risk this kind of gamble. Life is too short to try something that is not going to last. Story 99. Embrace artificial intelligence. The bubble is going to burst, and I am not going to waste my time on another doomed technology entrepreneur hype machine. Story 100. Accept that these are trying times or the hardest times to live. People use this phrase a lot, and while individually things may be difficult, as they are for me, I fail to see how some of the same issues people complain about did not apply in the past. I also do not know any magical time period when everything was fine and people were not struggling. Even now, people lament how things were better a decade ago. However, we should remember that even 10 years ago, people were still struggling after the 2008 recession. The effects of that lasted longer than the COVID-19 pandemic, in my opinion. There is nothing new under the sun, and as long as I have been alive, I cannot think of one year in my life that did not have some sense of struggle or adults complaining about trying times. Story 101. Beauty standards as a woman sometimes make me go makeup-free and focus on what I am doing without worrying about impressing people I do not know. Story 102. Get a dog or have a child. Honestly, they are kind of the same thing. Story 103. Being obligated to vote because it is my civil duty is incorrect. The right to vote includes the choice not to vote. I have experienced 3 presidencies as an adult, and the person I thought would win did not. Yet, I found nothing significant, good or bad, in each presidency that altered my life. Anything good or bad that happened in my life was not affected by who was in the White House. I also refuse to accept that you must vote to bring about actual change in society. For the record, I am not against voting, nor do I think I will never vote. However, the primaries this country has offered have been a joke, and none of these corrupt politicians deserve my vote. Especially since the more I look into past presidencies, the more I acknowledge that most of our presidents have been dishonest or unethical. Story 104. Kiss ass. I never realized someone was pulling rank. I think we are discussing facts, and they get furious and turn red. I have done this all my life. I am not stopping at 63. Story 105. Makeup. Forget that. I am beautiful the way I am. All the power to people who like to wear it, but it is not for me. Story 106. Speed. I do not care if everyone else drives over the speed limit. I personally do not think it is worth risking my life to arrive at my destination a minute or two earlier. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.